Students, let's learn today about the pumping organ of our body, that is heart. Now in external morphology, let us talk about the different parameters by which heart is studied. First, color. It is reddish brown in color. Size is about one's fist. Weight 300 grams in males and 250 grams in females. Shape is conical, broad at apex and narrow, conical at the base. Location. It is located between two lungs in a cavity called as mediastinum. Heart is a hollow muscular organ which pumps the blood across our body. Now, heart is enclosed in a membranous sac which is called as pericardium. Now, here you can clearly see the outer sac-like structure which is covering of heart and which is protective in function. Pericardium is divided into two layers, outer inelastic, tough, fibrous pericardium, and inner is called as serous pericardium, which is divided into parietal pericardium and visceral pericardium. Now these two layers show a gap here. This gap is called as pericardial cavity, which is filled with pericardial fluid. Here in this gap there is liquid called as pericardial fluid, which acts as a shock absorber and which prevents the desiccation. Now, immediately near the visceral pericardium, there are the layers of heart wall. Heart wall has three layers: epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. Here you cannot see epicardium, it is not labeled here, but epicardium and endocardium are epithelial layers made up of single flat squamous epithelium, and this middle layer or myocardium is made up of cardiac muscles, specialized muscles which have ability to contract and relax. Function of epicardium and endocardium is protective, and function of myocardium is causing the contraction and relaxation of heart. Let us move on to the external structure of heart. Now, in heart external anatomy, you can see the dorsal and ventral views of heart. Ventrally, which is towards your mouth, and dorsal side is towards your back. Heart has four chambers. Two superior chambers are called as atria and two inferior chambers are called as ventricles. Now, there is a groove which separates atria and ventricles, which is called as coronary sulcus or atrioventricular groove. It is a transverse groove that separates atria from the ventricle, which is seen externally. This coronary sulcus or atrioventricular groove harbors coronary arteries and veins. Then there is also an interventricular sulcus, the grooves that separate two ventricles externally. Coronary arteries and veins are also present in these. Now, which are the features that you can see in the ventral view of heart? The ventral surface shows pulmonary trunk which bifurcates into left pulmonary arteries and right pulmonary arteries. There is also this aorta, or which is called as systemic aorta. Pulmonary trunk arises from the right ventricle and systemic aorta arises from left ventricle. You can clearly see the structure or the origin of aorta from left ventricle in the internal structure of heart. We are going to study the internal structure in the next video. pulmonary trunk, here you can see, is divided into two branches, right and left. Now in dorsal view, you can see the superior and inferior vena cava. Here superior and inferior vena cava, and here you can see pulmonary veins. Superior and inferior vena cava, coronary sinus, they open into the right atrium, and the pulmonary veins open into the left atrium. Now if you will see again in the previous view, the systemic aorta shows three branches: brachiocephalic trunk, left common carotid artery, and left subclavian artery. The systemic aorta again shows here three parts: ascending, then systemic arch, and descending. Here there is a nice curve that you see to the aorta: ascending, systemic arch, and descending aorta. And at the systemic arch position, you can see the three branches: brachiocephalic trunk, left common carotid, and left subclavian artery. There is one structure called as ligamentum arteriosum, which joins pulmonary trunk and aortic arch. It is remnant of embryonic duct, which is called as ductus arteriosus, which is not really clearly visible here. So this is all about the external morphology of heart. Remember the structures that you see in the dorsal and ventral view. In dorsal view, two structures are clearly visible: pulmonary trunk bifurcating into left and right branches, systemic aorta, that is ascending aorta, systemic arc, and descending, and its three branches. And in ventral view, in dorsal view, you can see the superior and inferior vena cava and two pairs of pulmonary veins. Now this is all about the external structure of heart. Thank you.